Leslie Mack here with nRotation magazine. We have the dream. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us some of your time today.
Of course.
So I have to ask. I'm all over the internet, always looking for songs because we put stuff out for the DJs and whatnot. Did I miss your EP, First Crown?
No,
I can't find
you didn't.
it.
Yeah, everybody's mad because they thought it came out Tuesday.
Yes.
And yeah, I told people, I forewarned them that I was doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. I would be real nice and late when my EP would come out. And it really had nothing to do with my part being done, but we were doing some new things with iTunes, and plus it's a double EP, and it's never been done before, so they were just trying to figure out how to track it and keep track of who's buying the whole album versus who's buying the EP, and so it's a lot of new things being done that kind of it needed another like 10 days, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that have anything to do with Tidal? Are you on board with the rumored exclusivity?
I'm definitely on board with anything the family does, anything like Familiar and Rock Nation is doing with those guys over there. So, we talked earlier about Tidal and just about what it means, overall to everybody and everything. And just kind of liberating the music business, period, because we haven't had a change in how things are done in so long. And plus the industry itself, the labels are like 14, 15 years behind, where they should be. And it seems like every year somebody comes up with a new thing to do, and they grab music, and it's like they suck the life out of music, but they don't leave anything behind,
Right.
for us.
So how do you feel about Tidal?
I think it's awesome. Yeah, I think streaming is just awesome, period, especially if you're paying the artist that you're streaming from, So yeah, I was always with streaming. I think it was about them having competition with each other so we can get to a better number. So the new acts could be developed, because I think that's the problem, that it's hard to find a Michael Jackson now because it's no money to develop it. And people can say, like, it's okay to get free music. Like, yeah, it may be fine for you to feel like it's free, but it's not free when somebody's working on it. Or it's people that have to be employed to make music, or it affects you guys' life and what you're talking about if I'm not able to come because there's a budget problem.
Right. Very good. Well, speaking of being creative, do you think it's too easy nowadays for quote-unquote bedroom musicians or hobby artists that are flooding the industry to where it makes it harder for a DJ to break their record?
Yeah, I think, like sports when we were younger, it's more than just having the talent to be able to play something. I think you have to look much deeper into the people you're handing, these gifts to. And the crowns too, and I think at some particular point in time, what happens is most people are just anointed way earlier than they should be, and so it becomes a hobby to somebody that doesn't really have to put that much work into it. I've been doing music since I was in 3rd grade, so it means something different to me than it means for a guy that's 24 and he's just made his mind up to say, oh, I'm gonna get my Fruity Loops thing and I'm gonna make a track and it's going to be big, and don't understand that they have to invest this type of time being here to talk about music or even to educate kids about what music really means.
Speaking of kids, and I know you're always writing and you're big on all of your creativity, and music's been pulled from schools.
Yeah. So
are you doing anything with your philanthropic efforts to give back to the kids, to instill that enrichment with them?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. That's all I've been talking about with starting this new label, Contra-Paris, is making sure that I become like the platform to talk about that. Because for me, in elementary school, there were brass instruments, there were things we would go out on trips, field trips, to do music for, in the middle of malls and for different organizations, and now that doesn't really exist, to kids to be able to have that, and just to kind of send them all down the same tunnel and say, well, this is what you should be in life because this is what's at the end of that tunnel.
Right.
If that trumpet wasn't there for me, then I would never, I couldn't be where I am today.
Oh, absolutely. So where would we be if there wasn't the dream? Because you have touched so many artists.
Oh, well.
And, I mean, you've brought it to fruition.
Yeah.
I mean, you've definitely changed the game.
Yeah. That's just, you know, that's a blessing in itself to even be in the history books of saying that once, you know, I came along that something changed about how music sounded. And that's, you know, it's not that I never really imagined that, but you can imagine things and dream things, but seeing them come into fruition, you know, is a whole different thing. You know, it's a lot of people, and especially the younger kids, that look up to me and what I've done. And I carry it with me every day to try to make sure I outdo myself and outdo what I've done already in the past.
That's good. So if you were still back punching the clock, who would we hear in your playlist today?
Oh man, if I was punching the clock, it'd still be Coldplay. I probably would just kind of stay with 90s rap. I think UGK's Riding Dirty is still one of my favorite rap albums of all time. Outkast. I was still in the same place. You know?
Yeah.
As far as, because I think the best hip-hop records were made in the 90s. You know, I think a lot of the best stuff was made in the 90s.
Awesome. Well, if you could go back and write a song with one legend from the past, who would it be and what would you title it?
A legend from the past. Wow. Probably it would be Quincy Jones, I think. And I don't know what the title would be though. That's a good one.
Just up in the air.
Yeah.
So for all
Well,
of
that's the good one. Up in the air. That's the title.
there you go.
You named it.
So for all of your fans that are new and old, how can they follow you? How can they find out more about you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at The King Dream, of course, and also The King Dream is on my Twitter. Is my Twitter name, my Twitter account, and contra-paris.com is my site, my record label.
The hat, yes.
Yeah, contra-paris.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. It was certainly a pleasure. All right.